Assalamualaikum. We are from Group FOURZ have chosen the Sustainable Development Goals on Climate Action. The title of our project is Taking Action on Climate Change by Reducing Carbon Footprint.
Carbon footprint can be defined as a total amount of gases by the greenhouse that is produced to support human activity, whether directly or indirectly, that usually expressed as carbon dioxide, CO2. The term of carbon footprint has frequently appeared in the news, radio, online website that include tons of information and awareness about the climate change. One of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are climate action that focus on reducing the carbon footprint. Therefore, the hypothesis for this report is that the more awareness about carbon footprint spreads, it will increase the acknowledgement to people on how carbon footprint can be a threat to the world. The methods that are used are discussions, online research, and observation, and as well as a survey that help us to complete this report. As we have spread the awareness and conclude each of aspect of carbon footprint, people will acknowledge on this issue even better in the future.
Introduction. The main goal is to reduce the impact of climate change that affects the world, such as global warming, because in the future, more negative impact will have a greater impact. In an effort to reduce climate change, one of the actions the world can take is to reduce carbon footprint. HEB1023 September stated that in recent years, the use of the term carbon footprint has become increasingly accepted in the government as well as in the media. Carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gas emissions generated by an individual, organization, or any activity in producing a product. As a result of the Industrial Revolution, the carbon footprint has erupted and has a significant negative impact on the environment. Large carbon footprints have reduced resources in the form of large and small scales. One of the major causes of carbon footprint is the use of air conditioners that release toxic gas that pollute the air. Although we know that air conditioners have a significant impact on our carbon footprint, we cannot prevent manufacturers from producing air conditioners because they have high consumer demand. To eliminate the use of air conditioners is impossible because each building requires it to supply sufficient and cool air to the user. Without air conditioning, it would be a problem for every building and vehicle. Therefore, one of the solutions we can take trying to reduce the carbon footprint is that we need to turn off each electrical plug after use. Encourage you to buy and use electrical appliances that are free from chlorofluorocarbons, CFC, and preferable use equipment containing hydrochlorofluorocarbon, HCFC. First question is that from the perspective of an individual, what are the steps an individual can take in addressing climate change? From our individual point of view and perspective, there are several ways to address the issue. For example, if more than one person wants to go to the same location, they can share the vehicle in an effort to reduce carbon monoxide emissions, reduce traffic congestions, and with this indirectly reduces air pollution. So, carpooling or using public transport can be done by many individuals while addressing climate change issues. Next, in Malaysia, there are many large companies that are able to contribute towards climate change. Therefore, as a company perspective, what steps can the company take in its effort to address the problem of climate change? In Malaysia, we can see too many large and small companies involved in solving climate change problem whether we realize it or not. Companies can take steps to address this problem by providing recycling bins around the company's premises. So, with this step, employees and company owners can recycle their waste into recyclable items such as plastic, paper, and other materials. And our last question is that Malaysia has begun its journey towards sustainable development since the 1970s. So, what do you think is the next step the government can take in addressing the problem of climate change, especially in Malaysia? As a government that has the power to manage large budgets and manpower, it can take great strides in dealing with climate action. For example, supporting smallholder farmers in obtaining subsidies as an example of high-quality buying capital. This is because some fertilizers are cheap, but they contain high levels of chemicals that can irritate the ground and then flow into the river through flowing rainwater. This in turn will cause water pollution and affect river and sea ecosystems. Thus, three hypotheses that we can conclude is that first, the higher the individual's involvement in turn off electrical equipment when not in use, the higher the rate of energy savings. In addition, the more companies provide storage and recycling facilities, the less waste disposal and waste of resources. Last but not least, if the government assists small farmers in capital and product quality, then smallholders will no longer rely on cheap but high pollutants. Thus, farmers can produce quality products and thus reduce climate change. In conclusion, every individual, company, and government should take action on climate change by reducing its carbon footprint, as it has a significant negative impact on the environment, humans, and animals. The ecosystem is no longer stable due to global warming, ice melting, and so on. If the responsible party, including us, does not take action on this issue, then who will?
Carbon impression characterized as the complete discharge of carbon dioxide, indirectly or directly produced by individuals, household, organization, products, land clearance, manufactured goods, transportation, generation and utilization of nourishment, fuels, materials, wood, buildings, road and other services are good example on how greenhouse gases, GHGs, including carbon dioxide, can be emitted from. All the sources that have been reviewed give out good knowledge and acted as an eye-opener towards the topic currently in research. The first 5 sources mainly focus on individuals or household take on reducing their carbon footprint. The first journal that has been reviewed, Venet A 2018, stated that individuals find joy in traveling, which is indirectly contributed to greenhouse gas emission, as traveling needs transportation to do so, such as car, motorcycle, and airplanes. Salam finds a way to repay the price of leaving their carbon footprint by afforestation. The next article by Wei, Guan, Zhang, Meng, Liu, and Wiedenhofer et al. 2016 stated that both rural and urban households use certain main energy that contributed to greenhouse gases emission. Yearly, 20 million people roughly move from provincial to urban regions, demanding more building and infrastructure, resulting in more carbon footprint. This article stresses that the gap in income is one of the key causes of greenhouse gases emission. Even though rural and urban households both release greenhouse gases, it is likely for an urban household to release more of it. The few sources have been reviewed to help our research regarding community, companies, product and services sectors take on reducing their carbon footprint. Jagannathan and Nielsen 2013 has stated that enterprises from all over the world are searching for elective advancement that can convey the expanding quantities of items sought after consistently while devouring fewer resources and lessen the effect on the earth. This journal stresses on little and medium scale endeavors take on reducing their carbon footprint. Although SMEs play an important role in economy, SMEs was not refusing to receive vitality, proficient and earth innovation that shows how much change matters, and it is proven by adopting expansive environmental friendly technologies to implement cleaner production for pollution control. The last few sources are related to government action on reducing carbon footprints. The government holds a bigger power on how a country being managed. Therefore, government should be wiser in managing the country's greenhouse gases emission. The first article that has been reviewed, written by Rekin, Kruzik, Fernandez, Loasa, Restrepo, McVoy, Satterthwaite 2017, stated that it is important for cities to be satisfactorily designed to show imbalance and disparities in the respective cities. If it is appropriately planned, it can sort out the vulnerable population issue, and government taking action to apply a balanced measure to elevate burdens and reduce carbon
This
footprint.
project, we were doing our research among ourselves, which consists of 4 members, including Suhaimi, Azreen, Izza, Natilia, and Iman, Munirah. We were discussing on how to reduce the carbon footprint to tackle climate change. During our meeting, each of us gave some opinions regarding the action needed to reduce the carbon footprint. All the opinions were agreed by the team members and were recorded for our references. Our sample size was 14 people from the survey. Moreover, we prepared a survey about taking action on climate change by reducing the carbon footprint. We used the Google form to spread the survey to our respective friends. We were also collecting our information through online research about how can we minimize the carbon footprint and summarize all the facts we got from the internet. Google Scholar was the main tool we applied for our research. From the survey, the data can be visualized by the pie chart and bar graph. It stated the statistics from two sections, which were about the respondents' background, and the section about general environmental concerns made us easily analyze the data. The first section of this survey was to know about the respondents' background and qualifications such as their gender, age, income, and others. In light of Figure 1, 100% of the respondents were female and none of them was male. According to Figure 2, 100% of the respondents are in the age between 16 to 24 years old, which means most of our respondents were teenagers and students. In this pie chart, we can conclude that the younger generation was alert about carbon footprint. Based on Figure 3, about 78.6% of the respondents had the highest qualification in degree or equivalent, followed by A level or higher level and primary level. This shows that they were not only focusing on academics, but they were also concerned about taking action on climate change. According to Figure 4, respondents mostly prefer not to say about their income because of their privacy. Besides, it mainly comes from the students, so they would not have any income yet. In light of Figure 5, none of the respondents were a member of any environmental organization. The environmental organization should encourage people to join them to do many activities about saving our earth. According to Figure 6, it was seen that 71.4% of people did not know about the carbon footprint. Certain of them had heard about the carbon footprint and some of them not sure maybe they had heard before or not. This indicated that the respondents must aware of what action can be taken to tackle climate change, such as reducing the carbon footprint. They must also read some articles that related to the carbon footprint so that they can gain more knowledge. Based on Figure 7, the most significant way of reducing carbon footprint was recycling. By recycling, we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Moreover, the respondents were practicing less driving or doing carpool. This will lead to saving fuel and less pollution. The other activities were unplugging the unused electronic devices, followed by not using plastics, using water wisely, and reduce food waste. Based on Figure 8, 57.1% of the respondents were seldom in consuming meat in a week. As we all knew that beef came from cows, beef had a bigger impact on greenhouse emissions. It required more land and produced greater greenhouse gases. Our people need to eat less meat to cut the carbon emissions. The survey was really under our expectations. It was hard to please people to fill in the survey as they had a lack of time to answer it. Some respondents did not answer it well, made it hard to conclude all the survey given. Apart from that, the best way is we can take another alternative which prepares some questionnaire to spread around campus and interview a company that based on climate action so that we can gather more information about decreasing the carbon footprint.
To conclude, this report assesses the impact of the carbon footprint in our life. A carbon footprint can be a serious threat to the accomplishment of Sustainable Development Goals (SDG). Based on our review on the survey, discussion, observation, and online researches, as well as social media, suggested the term of carbon footprint has become largely established to the public. As human being responsibility, we must measure to shorten our carbon footprint by reducing the emissions of greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide. Based on the review method, we have concluded that for the application of the carbon footprint needed to have more precise information to the people, as we have received on the survey that there is 14.3% of people did not know regarding climate change, which is carbon footprint. Hence, action needed to be taken, which means that not only we that spread the awareness, news need to take the action as well as such as telling the awareness on climate change that has occurred in our world. According to carbon footprint methodologies, further development and action should be taken as it concerning policies regarding carbon footprint assessments. As we have defined it, the term carbon footprint is one of the climate change metric that we need to be focused on. The impact of our result might be useful in the future as we have created public awareness about carbon footprints. Hence, this awareness will wake up our generation to be more careful about the action that needed to be taken to avoid the carbon footprint to occur. Why? It is because to improve people's understanding regard of the issues surrounding climate change, it is a must to be precise. Taking action on climate change is not something that can be done on yourself. Thus, it is needed for everyone to take part in minimizing the impact on this world. The effective way of solving this is to reduce our carbon footprint by considering our carbon emissions. Finally, the result of our report will be informative as it concludes all aspects, impact and causes of carbon footprint to our life and in the future as well. It is important to know about climate change as it will affect our surroundings, family, friends and as well as ourselves. The future generation, which include adolescents, will keep an eye on this awareness and this issue regarding climate change and action that they will need to take to keep our world a better place to stay. Last but not certainly least, people should have the responsibility and activities that need to be taken for better improvements and developments regard to climate change. Thank you. That's all from our group.